At night they'd sleep in parks.
At 10 years old, Patrick Sullivan almost overdosed.
My childhood was rather unpleasant. I suffered physical and sexual abuse at home, got involved in drugs at a very early age.
How early?
4.
Wow.
I started taking 4 or 5. I started taking my mom's pills. My parents had problems with drugs and alcohol.
At 11, he ran away from home, and in order to survive on the streets, Sullivan became a prostitute.
It was a constant struggle for food, money, trying to survive, being cold a lot. You know, walking down the street and you realize, wow, it's been 3 days since I've eaten. You know, not being able to shower every day, the kind of normal things. People just kind of...
At 18, he says he reached a turning point.
I think part of it was kind of waking up one day and looking in the mirror and thinking, if I live, I live, if I die, I die. It's no big deal. And suddenly realizing that that was not good. It's not a healthy thing. I moved back home with my mom. She changed her life drastically. She was no longer drinking, doing drugs. She was working full time.
Sullivan finished high school and college, then went back to the streets.
What do you think are some of the reasons that you think kids become homeless?
This time to educate church groups, the police, and youth about homelessness through social justice tours. For the next 2 to 3 hours, this group from Timmins, Ontario will walk the streets of downtown Toronto. They'll see communities many residents of the city don't see. The purpose is to expose them to the realities of homelessness and show them that God can often be found among some of the most broken people.
I'd like you to raise your hand.
These youth are with the Toronto, Ontario Opportunities for Learning and Service, also known as TOOLS. Emily Dueck is coordinator.
It breaks down the stereotypes of what society thinks of homeless people, and really gives the youth and these young people a chance to really try to dive into some of these real tough issues dealing with poverty, marginalization, and really just getting their hands dirty.
TOOLS takes teens from Christian schools and youth groups and immerses them in inner city poverty.
So it can be either a week-long or a weekend experience. Basically, you come, you serve, you learn. So you're here making beds, serving food in the kitchen. You walk with a homeless person. It's a week of service and learning, and time to reflect on what it means to be homeless and to experience poverty.
The program is a ministry of the Mennonite Central Committee Canada, a global Christian humanitarian and social justice organization.
We have issues in our own country and our own communities, and so getting into the issues that we deal with here in our own society is really important to us as well. So about probably 15 years ago, early 90s, is when TOOLS started.
An estimated 150 to 300,000 people are homeless in Canada. 65,000 of them are youth. Stereotypes abound when it comes to homelessness, Dueck says.
The youth come in, a lot of them are from really small towns where they don't even see poverty very much, but they have these ideas of homelessness means basically you're unintelligent, uneducated, lazy, probably on drugs. And what TOOLS tries to do is break down that wall of fear and just make you realize, homeless people could be basically any other person, right? They're real people with real problems.
TOOLS participants, Andrea, Trebilcock, and Frank Moller, admit they'd never considered educated people could end up homeless.
I didn't think that they would be as educated, maybe because of where they ended up, but obviously that's not true.
They actually are very educated. I met one, he seemed like he used to be a businessman. He said he used to work for a bank, and he was really interested, and he was really smart in math.
If a woman is HIV positive...
For street kid turned homeless outreach worker Patrick Sullivan, those perceptions are what frustrate him most.
No one that I've known has ever woken up and said, you know what, I don't like my house and I want to be homeless. I want to sleep in a doorway. My future goal is to become a crackhead. I can hardly wait to become a prostitute. Those are myths. Yes, people make choices, but if a person's going to be choosing the street over their home, what is their home life like?
According to Doug Hatlem, attitudes towards the homeless, even among people of faith, aren't surprising. Because in the West, work is worshipped, he says.
We have valued work in North America to such a degree that it becomes the most basic part of who we are. The central part of our identity is work, and it becomes easy for us to blame or marginalize those who can't work, who don't work, who refuse to work, whatever the case may be. I think we get to where we feel like we either don't know what to do with them, or they've kind of deserve in some sense what their fate is because they're not part of the working population. Or maybe you could even...
Hatlem is a street pastor with the Mennonite Central Committee Canada. Working out of Sanctuary Ministries in downtown Toronto, his job is to bridge the gap between homelessness and the message of Jesus.
I want people to be made aware not only of the immediate issues, addictions and lack of affordable housing and psychiatric issues, but also what are the deeper causes of those things themselves. So the main idea we want people to take back is that they should figure out where poverty and even homelessness is in their communities and learn how to see Jesus in the poor people in their community and to be present as the presence of Christ.
And while students are there short term, he wants to make it clear, Tools is not a poverty tour. Groups are there to learn, not gawk at the poor.
We don't want people that are part of our community to feel like they're in a zoo or that they're on display. On the other hand, we do think it's important for people to have the opportunity to see what's really going on in the world.
Though he left the streets years ago, homeless outreach worker Patrick Sullivan admits the effects are still with him.
I've been housed for years. I'm working, I'm making money, but there are times when I'll wake up and think, oh yeah, I forgot to eat yesterday. Sometimes I will feel a little claustrophobic in my home. So, I will, get out, and I will not, come home till, 2, 3 in the morning if I don't have to work the next day.
As he leads another Tools group through the streets of downtown Toronto, Sullivan hopes the next time these teens meet a homeless person, instead of judging, they'll stop and do something.
Instead of thinking, what a bum, go home, get a job, go back to school, to maybe stop and think, what's the journey like to be here, to get here? And is there anything I can do to help? Even if it's just a smile, or sitting down talking to them for a couple of minutes, or buying them a meal, or giving them $1. What can I do?
In Toronto, Ontario, Bridget Antwi, 100 Huntley Street.